Hey guys, welcome back! Today I have some delicious shrimp pad thai and mango sticky rice from my favorite Thai place in DC called Absolute Thai. I flipping love Thai iced tea. Delectable. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Hee hee. Ooh. Wow, this is so good. Oh my goodness. Seriously, so amazing. So today, I got a lot of comments on my TikTok and on YouTube of people saying that they like my story times, which honestly makes me feel really good about myself because I don't think personally I tell stories very well, so I figured I would give you guys another story time. I recently watched with my roommate The Vow on HBO. I say my roommate like you guys don't know who Will is. Like, he's been in multiple videos with me. So good. So yeah, we were watching The Vow, and it's basically this documentary show about this cult called NXIVM, or Executive Success Programs, and the entire organization was started by this man named Keith Raniere, who had I don't know if his childhood was that troubled. His mom was an alcoholic, and I think that he resents her for that, and it definitely shows in the way he treats women in his program. So the light looks a little bright. Am I crazy? All right, I think this is better. It's like super bright, and I don't know if you could see like my makeup or anything. Oh well. So basically, the program that Keith started is called Executive Success Programs, and he started it with a woman named Nancy Saltzman. And the whole concept behind this program is like, he thought he was helping people in taking control of their lives. For example, like if somebody came to him and said, "Oh, I'm really anxious," he'd be like, "Well, why are you anxious? You're making yourself a victim to your anxiety. You need to just relax, not be anxious, and take control of yourself." So that basically was like the ideology behind Executive Success Programs, or NXIVM. A lot of insecure actors and actresses joined this program, mainly because like a lot of the stories they tell is at first they weren't getting auditions and they were really down on themselves, and then they found this program and it like uplifted them basically. So a lot of known actors joined. For example, Allison Mack from the show Smallville. I don't know if you guys, I used to watch Smallville, like I used to love it, but I know like some of you don't know, it's an older show, but she joined NXIVM and it kind of got a lot of attention because she was a big actress joining this program. I was so in the mood for some pad thai. This is amazing. This guy, Keith, he has everyone in the program call him Vanguard, which is based off of his favorite like video game. It basically means like teacher or leader. And Nancy Saltzman, his co-creator of the program, is called Prefect, which means like student, and like she was his first student basically. So at first, you know, the program seems good, a lot of the people are enjoying it, but it starts to get very culty very fast. Like, just the fact that this guy Keith has, and he was corrupt from the start. He started his own business before NXIVM, and he got in trouble by the FBI for it being a pyramid scheme. So I don't know why these people joining this program didn't think to look him up or anything, but there has been evidence of him being a fraud in the past. So I guess they believed that he was really this smart because apparently he had like a really high IQ or some shit, but oh, I love Thai iced tea. I drink it so fast. But yeah, so the program consisted of a ton of different subgroups, and one of them was like they had like a male protectors group. And it just shows like there was a lot of like misogyny rooted in this company. This like program was called SOP, Society of Protectors, and basically they spoke about how men are supposed to be the protectors of their women, like all that stuff. And they also had another program called, I don't know what it was called, but it was a way to empower women. And what the program consisted of was Keith basically lecturing all these women on how they should be independent, but then he just like always contradicted himself. Like he always told them that they were supposed to be independent, and the reason why they're so anxious is because they fall back on society's standard of women. But then he would give them advice like, you need to be subservient to your men, the men in your life, and just like give up control. Like once you give up control, you'll be completely anxious free and you'll be happy. Honestly, this kind of just, the way he taught these people how to be like more free as a person was kind of just a way to control them. Like he is constantly controlling. And the documentary spoke a lot about his past relationships. For example, the reason why he met his co-founder of Nexium was because she was his ex-girlfriend's therapist at the time. Well, his girlfriend at the time's therapist. And this woman, Tony, that's her name, she worked with Keith on the pyramid scheme before Nexium, and she went on to work with him on Nexium. And this woman started seeing like these weird behavioral patterns from Keith, like how the woman who joined this program would tell him how extraordinary he is and how insightful he is. Not just the women, the guys too, like always told him how extraordinary and insightful he is. And it kind of beefed up his, he already had a big ego, but it definitely beefed up his ego to like an insane degree. So he started like seeing other women. He like lived with a ton of women that were in the program. It's very odd. But Tony wasn't really about it. She was like, this guy has a huge ego. I'm not really in love with him anymore. So she breaks it off and leaves Nexium. She leaves. Keith straight up cannot deal with the fact that she left and left him because, again, he's super controlling. So he hits her with all of these lawsuits of how she stole money from the company, how she did all this illegal shit, when really none of it was true. And she defended herself and spent so much money on these lawsuits that Keith sent her. He basically told her, like, I'm gonna ruin your life. Like, now that you left me, you left this program, I'm gonna ruin your life. And he treated everyone that left the company that way. So, what does it scream to you? A cult. It's just so weird. When they were explaining it in the documentary, like, it's a lot of the people that were in the cult explaining it, realizing now that they were in a cult. They were saying how when they first joined, they have sashes that they wear, and they called their program like a community. It's not a community, like self-help programs, they're just supposed to be self-help programs, you know? They're not supposed to be a community of people. It just screamed very odd to me. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe I would be a victim to this, but everyone in the program treated Keith like he was basically God. And newcomers into the program would see that. Like, if I went into this program and I saw people praising this random man with long hair who was like short, and I'd be like, what is the big deal? This is odd that they're idolizing him so much. So they idolized him so much, especially a lot of the women, that they started to do whatever they could to get closer to him, which is not a good idea because Keith Raniere is a controlling freak. Let me try some of this mango sticky rice. Mmm. Yum. Wow. That is amazing. Ooh. Yum. Woo! So more people in the company started noticing a lot of the women were getting really thin, especially Allison Mack. She really took a liking to him, and apparently one of the members went up to her, they're like, you're really thin, like what's going on? And she was like, oh, it's okay, Keith is counting my calories. And it's crazy watching the documentary. If you look at all his past girlfriends, they're very thin, and they don't look that thin like when they show them first meeting him. One of the members in the documentary explained that her like best friend in the program called her and said, hey, I want to introduce you to some new program that we're doing. Would you be interested? And it's this program called DOS, which is a subgroup in Nexium. She framed it as like a secret society for women in the organization. It's kind of like a sorority, except what the really fucked up thing about it is the head girls are the person's masters and the girls below them are their slaves. Just like in a sorority, how you have like bigs and littles, this was master and slave, which is very fucked up. Like, that doesn't even explain how fucked up that is. This girl was like, that sounds really odd, but you know, she trusted her friend, so she was like, okay, I'll join. So I forgot to explain. Do you see I'm so bad at telling stories? But the member I'm talking about, her name is Sarah, and the woman who reached out to her, her best friend, is Lauren Saltzman, who is Nancy Saltzman's daughter, who is the co-founder of the company. So Sarah agrees, tells Lauren that she's down to do this new program. They call it DOS. That's the name of the secret society. I think it stands for dominance over submissive. I think that's what it stands for, or dominant over submissive. Basically, this girl, Sarah, explained that Lauren would text her being like, hello, slave, and she would have to respond immediately saying, hello, master, and she had to ask her permission to eat. Basically, she had to ask her permission to do anything, and they framed that as a way to, you know, keep control in their lives, and they would have to give over collateral just in case, so they wouldn't say anything about the group. It was basically blackmail. Like, she's like, all right, well, in order to join this group, you have to give over some collateral. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. So this girl, Sarah, would send over, like, nudes of herself. She lied about a ton of stuff with her family just to give her anything to go on. So that went on, the whole texting exchange with the girls and their masters. So fucked up. Oh my god. Lauren calls Sarah and she's like, oh, there's going to be a big ceremony. Everyone's going to meet up. Because before then they didn't meet up. They just were communicating via text. At this meetup, which was at Allison Mack's house, they blindfolded the girls and branded them. They literally branded them. They told the girls that the branding symbol was a symbol for like the river or something, but it was really Keith's initials. Keith Raniere's initials. It was KR, except it was backwards. So it looked like a river kind of, but when you flipped it, it says KR, and the brand was right above their vagina. And whose idea was it to brand these women? Take a guess for yourself. Keith. The entire organization, this entire secret society was Keith's idea that he told Allison. He's like, I have a great idea for a new subgroup in Nexium. You should get a group of women together. One part will be masters, one part will be slaves, and they need to be branded with my initials. I understand that these people were brainwashed, like Allison technically is brainwashed by this man, but I don't know. I feel like there's a level of brainwashing where I would be like, hell no, I'm not branding anyone. But she was so brainwashed with Keith Raniere and his ideas of life, and she was in love with him basically. All the women that founded this group DOS were in love with Keith. And yes, they were all having sex with Keith as well. So this girl, Sarah, she gets branded, but then it turns really weird because somebody else in the company hears about the secret society, hears about DOS, and they're like, this is very odd, like, I don't know if I like this. Like, apparently the women are counting their calories, they're not eating. Like, Allison, the head of this group DOS, she would tell the women that they needed to starve themselves, basically. When a member in Nexium heard about this group, they reached out to Sarah, and they said, is this true? And Sarah was like, yeah, it's true, and I'm in it. So Sarah quickly realizes how fucked up the entire thing is, so she calls Lauren and is like, I want my collateral back, I want to leave this group. And Lauren's like, you made a vow to us that you would stay in this group for the rest of your life. And Sarah's like, this is crazy, like, you're my best friend, can I just have my collateral back? I just want to leave. And she's like, I don't want to give you your collateral back because you made a promise and you're breaking your promise. Like, fucked up, so fucked up. Sarah at that point was like, I've been involved in a cult this entire time. Everyone is brainwashed. I know some more stuff about like what ends up happening with Keith, but I kind of just wanted to use this opportunity to get you guys to watch The Vow, because I mean, I guess I like told a lot of what happened. But there's a lot of details about this story, and I feel like this show would explain it a lot better. I just wanted to let you know that this group did exist, and it targeted a lot of insecure actors and actresses. They were basically like hypnotized and brainwashed by this man, Keith Raniere. I'm literally gonna rewatch this video back and be like, wow, I actually made no sense when I was talking. I definitely think when I was reading about Keith, how his mom was an alcoholic, like, I definitely think he resents his mom because he's clearly so misogynistic and he cares only about controlling the women in this program and all the women in his life. And I think that's because he couldn't control his mom with her alcoholism. Makes sense. When this girl Sarah would explain to Lauren, she's like, do you realize what we're in? We're in a cult. This is not good. And Lauren's like, what, just because it's different? Just because we're different, that means we're in a cult? Like, being different isn't bad. Like, you are branding these women and you don't think what you're doing is bad? It's crazy. And the women are like screaming. They're like strapping these women down on the table to brand them. Dude. Fucked up. And it's just so fucked up the way Keith used his ideologies that brought people into this cult, because basically he said, you need to let go of yourself. You shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't have fear. You just need to trust yourself. Which in some circumstances, like, that makes sense. Like, I'm a very anxious person. Sometimes I'm like, I just need to not be anxious about this. Like, I need to take control of my anxiety and not be anxious about it. That obviously can't apply in some areas. Like, when he first started this program, there were some women, like Tony, who was like, this is very odd, this is a very cult-like organization, and I'm a little worried that you're like abusing your power basically as the leader of this organization. Keith would be like, you're only thinking this because you're afraid to accept who you are. Like, why do you think you're thinking this way? You shouldn't be thinking this way. You're not allowing yourself to live to your full potential. What the hell? She's just saying that she thinks you have a fucking cult and that you're an egotistical maniac. It's not her, falling victim to her anxieties and her worries. That's her having concern that he's a fucking fraud and a horrible man. Like, he just used it as a way to control the minds of everyone who joined this group. Keith, like, managed to disguise it so well. Like, the Dalai Lama came to see him and spoke with him. Like, the fucking Dalai Lama. At first, the Dalai Lama canceled the meeting because there was some negative press about Keith saying that he ran a cult, which is true. But the Dalai Lama was like, I don't know if I want to be involved in that. And then Keith went to see the Dalai Lama and managed to convince him that none of the allegations were true. When the Dalai Lama came to like speak at Nexium or whatever, kind of validated Keith Raniere, and it definitely helped him regarding all the negative press that was out about him, because if the Dalai Lama is willing to meet with him, then something has to be good about this guy, So it was just really bad that he disguised all that. All I'll say is that eventually bad things will happen to bad people. I definitely did not come prepared enough to discuss the specific details. But you get the gist. Basically, this guy ran a cult, and his cult ended up turning into sex trafficking. Even though that was definitely his intention the entire time. He's a horrible man. And I know this happens with any cult, but just to think that people that left realize how much of their life they gave to this organization. Like, some of these people have been with this organization like 10 years before they realized it was a cult and they needed to get out. It is kind of sad. Like, very vulnerable people like that, they're easily brainwashed, They're victims. It's crazy. Also, like, Nancy Saltzman, his co-founder, her daughter was literally in DOS, in this secret society. She knew about her daughter branding other women. I don't think it said this in the documentary, but Nancy and Keith definitely, in my opinion, they definitely hooked up. And we know for a fact that Lauren, her daughter, hooked up with Keith. So, can you say incest? Like, so frightening. Sometimes I think like, oh shit, maybe that could happen to me. Like, maybe I could like join a cult, but hell no. Hell no. Not me. But honestly, to be fair, anyone really can join a cult. It's like that movie Midsommar. Once you're in it, you're in it. And it's really fucking hard to leave. It's scary. I'm so happy it's snowing in DC right now. And it really has not snowed at all recently. I love how chewy the rice is. It's so good. And the mango is so soft. But yeah, I also don't want to spoil too much because I didn't want to look up too much because there's a part 2 of The Vow coming out this year. So I kind of want to be surprised. I was so confused because the first season kind of ends and you're like, wait, what? Like, There's still a lot of unanswered questions. I honestly don't like reading self-help books or like self-help things because I don't know, I get very defensive. Like, I'm like, oh, what do you know? Like, why are you telling me what to do? I'm also really stubborn, but hey, at least my stubbornness is keeping me away from being brainwashed by people like Keith Raniere. Not saying that anybody who wants self-help will fall victim to a cult, but you know what I mean. Honestly, HBO should totally sponsor me for this storytime video. Everyone needs to watch The Vow on HBO. If you don't have HBO, just like look it up on Wikipedia, just everything. Because Wikipedia actually has a lot of the details, but it's so good. There's also a documentary, I think, on YouTube called The Woman of Doss. I don't know if it's on YouTube. Don't take my word for that. But thank you for watching, you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hee hee. Bye.